Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Evans with MELmotivations. Your motivation is here. And listen, one of the biggest questions is, does God really exist? And if you really want to find out some great ways to navigate and just understand this question, whether you're an atheist, whether you're agnostic, or whether you're a Christian, whether you're a believer of a different faith, listen, there is some what I would call evidence and what some would call evidence that it is more reasonable to believe that God exists than not. And so we're going to go into what I believe one of the strongest arguments for it, and that's the morality question. You know, where do we get our sense of right and wrong from, and why does it matter in the overall scheme of things? And this is very important. And so we're going to look at an exchange from your boy Cliffe. And Cliffe here, he's an apologist, and he goes to different college campuses engaging the bright minds of America, the bright minds of our future. And so just trying to see if someone would think with him and process with him. I love the process that Cliffe goes through. And so let's take a look. Let's take a look at one exchange that he has. Let's get it. Yeah, I wasn't even going to try to pronounce that last name. Cliffe Knechtle or something.
It seems like you're creating a fantasy by thinking that there's something else.
Okay, good. All right, you're right. Maybe God is just my fantasy. Okay, good. You're thinking, I think you're thinking clear now. All right, Cliffe, fine. Then maybe your God is just a fantasy that you've created because you're not willing to face the meaninglessness of life. You're right, that's possible. But by saying that, what you've communicated then to me is, Cliffe, I realize that because there is no God, life is meaningless.
Well,
right?
No.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't, because I'm not sure if I do think there's a God, and I think that my life has meaning, so I'm living proof, like, that you can have both.
Okay, but wait a second. If you're saying, Cliffe, what really motivates you to believe in God is because you don't want to face the logical conclusions of atheism, that life is meaningless.
And you're not okay with that, and I am.
Pardon?
Because we're two different people, though, and you're not okay with that, and I am okay with that.
Okay, are you really okay with the idea that your life is not meaningful, that you just create your own meaning?
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is...
Like an example, I create my own meaning how?
You can say that the purpose of my life is to develop my mind and help other people. But you can just as easily say the purpose of my life is to develop my mind to steal money. That's just as legitimate.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to jump in before I forget my thought process. But I like the discourse, and I like the way that this young lady is even engaging and opening up to the question. And it seems like there's just and it was a great question when she says, what do you mean by my life having meaning? And that to me is the difference with this question. When you talk about finding, and really she's talking about, I can have meaning and I can find meaning in life without having to believe in God. And the truth is, that's true. You don't have to believe in God to have meaning in life. There are a lot of people who do not believe in God and they find meaning in life. I think Cliffe's point, and I think he's trying to bring it out to her, is you can say that your life has meaning if you want to, but that's a subjective thing. But Cliffe is pointing to the reality that there is an objective reality that says you, whether you believe it or not, have meaning. You, whether you believe it or not, have value. Whether it's value you created yourself or not, there is an objective standard. There is an objective reality that exists outside of your own thinking that says, hey, you have value. And I think that's the pivotal difference between their perspective. She's saying, well, yeah, I have value because I believe I have value. And he's saying, no. You have value whether you believe it or not. Your life is meaningful whether you see it that way or not. And I think that's the difference that they're going at. So let's see how this unravels. Let's go back a little bit.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is...
Like an example, I create my own meaning how?
You can say that the purpose of my life is to develop my mind and help other people. But you can just as easily say the purpose of my life is to develop my mind to steal money. That's just as legitimate.
that's amoral.
That's right. And if there is no God, this universe is amoral. That's correct. Well, then who defines morality if there is no God? Who defines it? You see, there's nobody to define it. Except you and me and all of us, and the white South African and the Nazi and the murderer and the rapist and the terrorists who destroyed the World Trade Center. I mean, I hope you don't think that those terrorists who flew those jet airliners into the World Trade Center September 11th didn't think they were doing something good. Of course they thought they were doing something very good. That's why they sacrificed their lives for it. I am convinced to the root of my being they were wrong. Absolutely wrong.
And here, this is the point that that Cliffe is bringing out about the legitimacy of who says what is right and what is wrong. Because you see, yes, you can have what you think is wrong, right? I can have what I think is right. But who's going to say what's legitimate or what's not? And somebody may say, well, why can't both of our views be acceptable and accurate? Some things that works for and matters that allows for subjective truth. But also, there's some things that are absolute truth. You have to either say it's right or wrong for what happened. And that's why Cliffe says absolutely he thinks it's wrong for the terrorists who drove the planes into the Twin Towers. He thinks it's wrong. So he does not condone that action. And the only way you can say something is wrong is that if there is an absolute measurement that you then compare it to. But if you do not have that, then the best you can give the terrorists is say, hey, I don't agree with it, but your point of view was as legitimate as my point of view. In other words, you doing what you did was as legitimate as what I would have done, and that would have been something different. And if that's the case, then what we're saying, and that's where he goes into the South Africans and the Nazis, and that's because what he's saying is, with even apartheid and the Holocaust, the most you can say to these individuals is, hey, I don't agree with it, but it's legitimately okay. That's a big problem for atheists, because if you don't believe in an existence of a moral lawgiver, an ultimate absolute moral lawgiver, then if a morality is just subjective, then what do you do and how do you tell someone they were wrong? The only other option is you have to say is, you were not wrong, you just made a different choice than me. That's tough. And I don't see how that makes sense. But let's go.
But you see, that only can be true is if there is a real value of justice that is totally violated by those terrorists flying those jet airliners into the World Trade Center. And the only way there can be a real value of justice is if there is some type of mind prior to the human mind that creates and defines this value of justice, that gives lives dignity and value. Because if there is no mind prior to the human mind that defines justice and creates us with dignity, then we do that ourselves. And I am not more correct than a terrorist who flies a jet airliner into the World Trade Center.
So this is the concept that I was just talking about with the moral lawgiver. For him, it's a mind, right? It's a mind that creates this absolute reality of truth, right? Where you have a standard and you have a measurement of what truth is, and you have a standard and a measurement of what is good and what is bad. And so we're talking about the same thing. The moral lawgiver, or this mind, is God, right? And so this is to us what proves the existence of a God, because if you do not have it, if you do not have this mind, or you do not have this moral lawgiver, the best we can do is create our own subjective realities, because I can't say you're wrong and you can't say I'm wrong. It's just a matter of your preference, your taste. This is what you want to do. So today you can wake up and you want to kill somebody, no problem. Tomorrow you can wake up and want to hug someone, no problem. The next day you can wake up and want to abuse someone, no issue. Because why would that? Who says that it's wrong? So.
Because if there is no mind prior to the human mind that defines justice and creates us with dignity, then we do that ourselves. And I am not more correct than a terrorist who flies a jet airliner into the World Trade Center. I've got my definition. The terrorist has his definition. I'm not right. He's not wrong. He's not right. I'm not wrong. He's right for himself. I'm right for myself. Does that make sense?
That's all you're left with. That's all you're left with.
You have concepts of things, justice, just like you have a concept of anything.
Yes.
Concept of physical things.
But so does a terrorist. right?
But God doesn't give us a concept of sure.
You're right. There's a definite difference between the material shirt and the concept of justice. Absolutely correct. There's a definite difference between pants and a concept of meaning in life. This is the physical world. Meaning in life, value is philosophical. It's intangible value. And my point is, if there is no God, then the unseen world, these intangible values of justice, they're just the creation of the human mind. That's all they are. So the terrorist creates his own system of values. I create my own system of values. One's not right, the other's not wrong. It's all relative. And September 11th knocks that thing right into the hat. Because the majority of my relativist friends, confronted by September 11th, say, that was absolutely evil.
So here, right, the fact that what Cliffe is saying here, and that's the end of this clip, but it sums it up, you know, because at the best you could do, the best you can do without God is we're left with our own subjective realities. But the point is, you can't say that what I believe is wrong. You can't say that what anybody else believes is right or wrong. And it sounds cute when you're dealing with, like she said, God did not give us the question, the concept of shirts or pants. It sounds cute because those things are trivial matters. And those things are matters of, hey, it doesn't matter if you call it shirt or not. That doesn't matter. But when we come down to morality, what's good, what's bad, what's ethical, what's right, what's wrong, things get a little bit more weightier. The matters are a little bit more weightier, and it matters extremely. Because now, if without the ability to say that there is an absolute truth, you could not condemn the World Trade Center. You can as a group, as a society, but then there's really no legitimacy to it. You couldn't even condemn slavery. You couldn't condemn child molesters. You couldn't condemn, you know what I mean? Because these things are just preferential. These things are just subjective. And so that's why I love this moral argument, because it shows us that, guys, it does matter what we believe. It does matter what that there is a right or wrong. And our goal, our job, our responsibility is to discover what they are and then to try to live up to them. And that may be why we don't want to do the hard work. That may be why we don't really want to admit that there is one, because then we'd have to actually conform to it. All right. Well, listen, that was, I love the interaction. I think the young lady was genuine, but that's my take. What are your takes? What are your thoughts? What are some of the things that stood out for you? Maybe something that I didn't address. Put it in the comment section. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please hit the like, the subscription, follow our channel, as well as the notification bell. So when we drop more videos like this, you'll know when they drop. All right. Y'all have a great one. Thank you for tuning in. MELmotivations. Your motivation is here. Let's go.